After a decade of giving its allies in the Gulf a free hand to back coups and mount military interventions, all of a sudden the US Treasury is in a state of panic over the United Arab Emirates' trade links with Putin. And well they might be. Exports of electronic parts from the UAE to Russia increased sevenfold, according to the Russian customs data analysed by the Free Russia Foundation. Last year, the UAE exported 15 times more microchips, many of them made in the US, than in the previous year, and 158 drones to Russia. Dubai is bursting at the seams with cash, and 100 aircraft belonging to Russians are grounded at its airport after the US and the EU stopped companies from insuring and servicing them. No wonder the US Treasury Assistant Secretary for Terrorist Financing, Elizabeth Rosenberg, called the UAE a country of focus. A delegation of officials from the State Department, EU and the UK went over to make that very point. But really, were they looking at the right place? They were only looking at one part of the giant spider's web cast by President Mohammed bin Zayed. To the east, Emirati policy is to separate North from South Yemen, control Aden's strategic port, and completely take over the island of Socotra. The Emirati backing of the Southern Transitional Council gave the UAE control over many of Yemen's ports and islands with access to the strategic Bab el-Mandeb Strait and the Horn of Africa. To the south, the Emiratis backed the attempted coup of the warlord Lieutenant General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemeti, to seize power on the 15th of April. The coup failed, but not without igniting a vicious civil war that has so far killed at least 4,000, probably double that, and displaced 4.5 million Sudanese. To the west, Mohammed bin Zayed backed another blood-stained warlord, Khalifa Haftar, to seize Tripoli and the west of the country in 2019. That failed, but here again, the split between east and west has crippled Libya. In particular, it has crippled the east. The collapse of the two dams downstream from Derna happened on Haftar's patch. Aguila Saleh, the head of Libya's eastern parliament, called the destruction of Derna fate, sparking popular unrest. A member of Libya's state council told Middle East Eye that Haftar had been flying military supplies to the Central African Republic, another country racked by war, from where they were driven by car across the border into Sudan. What links most of these conflicts together is gold. Hemeti built up a huge personal fortune from looting Sudan's illegal gold mines and shipping it off to the gold market in Abu Dhabi, where he and his brother Abdul Rahim Dagalo bank their money. The same applies to the Emirati backing of the most extreme element of the Taliban, the Haqqanis. Now, isn't it time that Washington wised up to the funneling of gold from Africa to Russia through the greasy palms of Mohammed bin Zayed? Isn't it time that Washington and Brussels put two and two together? That you can't have record instability, state collapse, and civil war in Sudan, Yemen, Libya, Tunisia, and the Sahel without having record numbers of migrants heading for the Italian island of Lampedusa? It's another sign that instability in the region is not down primarily to America's enemies. It's primarily down to the freewheeling buccaneering of its allies.